Hey crafty people, it's Tasha. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm using the brand new Speckled Pearls trio from WoW, mixing muted tones with metallic silver for an interesting colour palette. To start, let's take a look at these new embossing powders. We've got Speckled Egg, Speckled Sage and Speckled Turquoise. I hope that you can see from these swatches that these powders definitely take after their name. You get a pearlescent shine, but with all that lovely speckled visual texture. I already have my powders embossed because I like to make these big swatches of all of the new powders that I get, and then I can use those for die cutting. I'm using this layered flower die set from scrapbook.com, and I'm going to make a single flower with 2 offset layers. Each layer is actually made up of 2 die cuts. So I'm cutting the slightly larger kind of frilly one from Nina Solar White, £80, and then the smaller one that sits on top of the frilly bit from Speckled Turquoise. So each layer will look like this, with a white frilly border around the embossed petals, essentially. Then I'm going to repeat that for Speckled Egg so that I have a layer of each of those powders. The centre is also in 2 pieces, so I cut the larger frilly one from white again. And at this point I thought that I would use one of the embossing powders for the very centre, so I did cut that too. So I'm adding liquid adhesive to the back of my embossed petals and adhering them onto that white matting layer. You do have to get it in a specific orientation to line up, so I figured out how they fit before adding the glue to save me some time and also some stress. Now that I have both layers ready, I can decide which one is going to be my top one. I decided that the Speckled Turquoise looks a little brighter, so that's going to work best on top. Then I'll have the white frilly centre and my little embossed middle, but I wasn't feeling it, so I decided to set that aside and work on my sentiment and then come back to it. My sentiment is also from scrapbook.com. I'm using the one that says Hello Sunshine. And this is where I decided to bring in a bit of metallic, and given the cooler tones that we have in the embossing powders, I thought silver would work best. Most of the time I would have gone for a white shadow with silver words, but I decided that I was going to switch it up a bit and reverse the roles. So I've cut the shadow from silver mirror cardstock and then both parts of the sentiment from Nina, £80. Normally I would stack up the sentiment, but actually I really didn't feel like it needed it here. The flower die set that I used earlier doesn't have any leaves or foliage, but I thought that the Speckled Sage would look really good as a leaf. So I grabbed a larger die set, still from scrapbook.com. It's not quite the same design-wise, but it does have some 2 layered leaves, so I chose one which I thought would work best. I cut the base layer from Speckled Sage and then the detailed layer from Nina, £80. I adhered them together with liquid adhesive and let that sit under an acrylic block to let the glue really grab hold. It can be a little slippy when adhering to such a smooth and shiny heat emboss layer, so I want to give it the best chance to grip on. Now I'm adhering the sentiment, again with some liquid adhesive, and I always like to use my reverse action tweezers for a task like this. It keeps my fingers away from the glue, so I can't accidentally spread that anywhere, and it just makes it so much easier to get these fiddly bits in just the right place. I'm adhering the 2 flower layers together. I'm offsetting them and putting some pieces of adhesive foam in the centre to stick them together, and that's going to give me some really good dimension. To make sure it definitely sticks well, I'm also adding some dots of liquid adhesive onto the foam too. Then I swapped out the centre for a silver die cut, and I think that that looks so much better. Plus, it also ties into the sentiment too. Now that I have all of my elements, including those extra couple of Speckled Sage leaves, I'm auditioning them on an A2 panel of Nina £80 to see how I like them best. But again, I'm not really feeling it. Something feels like it's definitely missing. I decided to step up my background and add some more depth and interest. So I cut the A2 postage die from Waffle Flower out of some Hefty Doodle grey cardstock on top of some double-sided adhesive foam. And then I'm adding that into the middle of my A2 panel, and it leaves a really nice border, as you can see. Now I can bring my elements back in, and already I just love that so much more now. So I've adhered everything down with those small extra leaves tucked around my sentiment. All that's left to do is embellish. I used some gorgeous grey toned adhesive gems from Alexandra Renke, and that's my card finished. It's definitely a departure from my usual, but I really love how it all came out. All of my supplies are listed and linked below, along with a coordinating blog post where you'll actually find a visual supplies list too. Have a lovely, happy, safe and wonderful week. Stay crafty. Bye.